Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Sakirti Madhavi.
Amrin Gordas.
Welcoming you for the last session of Gita Made Easy. So we have successfully completed 17 chapters, and in 1 hour we will be completing the last and final chapter. So here is the time for celebration. We are actually completing Bhagavad Gita today, the first reading of Bhagavad Gita, the first studying of Bhagavad Gita. So before we do that, today's chapter, it is known as Prapti Yoga, or the perfection of renunciation. So before entering, as always, let's chant Srila Prabhupada Pranam Mantra. Namo
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
So seeking blessings of Srila Prabhupada, here we proceed in this chapter number 18. So before we go there, we will have a quick recap of what we did yesterday. So here it is in front of you on your screen, chapter number 17, a quick recap. So it was divided into 3 sections, a very straightforward, simple, and yet very, very practical chapter it was. So the chapter began with a principle where Krishna said that everything actually in this world is governed by the natural instinct of a person if he does not follow the scriptures. So as we remember, Arjun again here asked the question that what about those people who, though they have faith, but they don't have faith in scriptures? And then Krishna started telling, so he quoted the principle in the first 2 verses where he said it is governed by the natural instinct, and this natural instinct is acquired based on the mode that person is living in. And then Krishna goes on describing various aspects of the lifestyle, like the food, charity, faith and worship, sacrifices, conduct, mind control, and speech. He talks about all these in detail, and he says how each one of this can be seen in goodness, passion, and in ignorance. And then finally, he concludes the chapter by giving this Om Tat Sat principle, where he makes us understand what is the significance of these 3 words, Om Tat Sat, and how we should be doing everything as an offering to Krishna. So the question what we need to ask ourselves is, what is my consciousness? Why am I doing whatever I am doing? So when we answer that question, and if Krishna is in the center, then we reach perfection. So this we have completed in chapter 17, and moving forward to chapter 18.
So if we see that here there are 78 verses, this is the biggest chapter of Bhagavad Gita, has the maximum number of verses. And we will also notice that Krishna is an expert presenter. We saw in the beginning, the 2nd chapter, Krishna summarized the whole Bhagavad Gita. And after that, Krishna moved on, explained the essence of Bhagavad Gita, or the most confidential knowledge, in the middle 6 chapters from 7 to 12. And then, all that Lord had to speak, he has completed by 17th chapter. And again, Krishna will summarize what he has spoken in the previous chapter. So this chapter 18 is like a summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. And the best or the most interesting part of this chapter is that it also contains Krishna's most important vachan, or most important instruction, Paramam Vacha. So that is included in 18th chapter. We will be looking at it in the 4th section, how Krishna explains that Bhakti Yoga is the highest. So let's look at the first section, that is the first 18 verses, summary of Gyaan and Karma Yoga. Well, Krishna reiterates this point that one should do his duty, but in a detached way. Should perform his duty, the occupational duty, or the duties towards the soul that we have been discussing all along. So duties towards the body should be performed, but it should be performed in a detached way. And then, Krishna talks about the From 19th verse to 40th verse, Krishna again discusses a lot about modes of nature. So we'll see that this topic is coming again and again because it is so important. We are living in this material world and we are governed by the modes of nature. So we need to understand that very clearly. And then Krishna further goes on and talks about the ideal worker, the verses 41 to 55, where Krishna explains that one should work according to his qualities, whether one is in tamogun or one is in satogun or one is in a combination of satogun and rajagun. So whatever be the situation, one should work according to the qualities. But the most important point is simultaneously one should remember the Supreme Lord. So if one does that, a combination of these two things, if one does that, then one attains liberation. And then we come to this most interesting section of love of God, the verses from 56 to 66. So in this, Krishna explains that how by becoming a devotee, one gains supreme perfection. So Krishna has discovered Karma Yoga, Gyaan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, but among all the yoga processes, what is Krishna's opinion? What does he recommend that what we should do? So Krishna is recommending very clearly that we should become a devotee. Bhakti or loving devotional service to the Lord should be my ultimate goal of life. And then finally come to the last section, the end results, where Krishna will discuss in detail about the benefits of studying Bhagavad Gita and what is the benefit of distributing this supreme knowledge to others. So these are the three key learnings: the topmost instruction of Krishna, how to become dear to Krishna, and how to acquire supreme auspiciousness. Very simply, these are three things. If these three things you are able to take away, then great, you have understood the essence of this chapter. So this point has been coming again and again, summary of Karma and Gyaan Yoga, the first 18 verses. So this particular section, these 18 verses are like a summary of the first 6 chapters. So these verses are like summary, and here Krishna is talking, is telling us that it is better to do our duty. It is better that we do our duty, because without performing actions, we cannot even maintain this body. So this body has to be maintained. So it is better that we do our duty, but it should be done in a mood of renunciation. So we should perform this duty, but we should not be attached to doing the duty or to the result. So when we perform an action, we get some results of that action, we should engage that in Krishna's service. So this is the summary of these two yoga processes. Arjuna has a doubt in the beginning. This doubt is coming again and again. So one beautiful thing we can learn from Arjuna is that doubts are like demons. So if, for example, we have any doubt in relation to Bhagavad Gita or in relation to spiritual life, it is always better that we clarify. So we are telling you that you have an option of mentioning your questions in the comment box, and we're getting back. We have answered quite a few questions in the comment box. If you go to our website, we also have a Q&A link there, which you can access, and you can post your questions there, where our team will get back to you with the answer. So doubts are like demons, and we must kill those demons with the help of the Supreme Lord. So here Arjuna is taking the help of Krishna to kill the doubts, demons like doubts in our mind, because that will erode our faith. And then Krishna will give his final opinion that we should perform the action with detachment. We'll see Krishna's final opinion, and finally who's responsible for action. So we will look at some of these verses now. So Arjuna was asking a doubt regarding sannyas and tyag. Sannyas means renouncing or giving up materially motivated activities, an activity that I am doing to gain some material benefit. So if I give up that activity, that is called sannyas. And tyag. Tyag means I performed an activity, I got some result because of that activity, but I renounce that result. So Arjuna wanted to understand the purpose of sannyas and purpose of tyag. So let's look at the the verse. But before we look at the verse, there is this amazing life lesson. Keep asking questions till you are clear and convinced. So this is very, very important. Keep asking your, keep clarifying your doubts till the time you're clear and convinced. And once you're convinced, it's time to follow. So till the time you're not clear, keep asking questions, getting convinced. But once you're convinced, then it's time to follow. Then no more questions asked and no reason given. So what is Krishna's final opinion about sannyas and about tyag? Etani api tu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani me partha nishchitam matam uttamam. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty. O son of Pritha, that is my final opinion. So here Krishna is very beautifully, he is concluding, he is giving his final opinion. Like we may have a lower court, we may have high court, but final judgment is given by Supreme Court, and that is binding on all. So like that, Krishna is giving his final supreme opinion. And what is he telling? Arjuna had a doubt. Arjuna did not want to fight. He had so many inhibitions. He did not want to fight this war. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we saw. But here Krishna is very clearly telling him that we must perform our duty. Arjuna is a military man, and it is his duty. When the duty calls, he must go and he must fight. So he must perform his duty, but he should do it without attachment. And he should do it without expectation of result, whether it is defeat or whether it is victory. Irrespective of that, he should perform his duty. So that is what Krishna is clarifying here. So why one should perform his duty in a detached way and not be attached to the results? Why? Because it purifies our existence. When we are performing a duty in a detached way, it purifies our heart. So, and also we should be detached. And how do we develop that detachment? Krishna will reveal in future verses, because I am not the only doer. We discussed that in the previous chapters as well. So we desire, Krishna sanctions, and the mother nature, Prakriti, she fulfills that desire of ours. So like that is one. And Krishna will reveal here also 5 factors that accomplish any action. So whatever our prescribed duties should not be given up. We should do them in this particular mood and attitude. It will purify consciousness. It will destroy our faults of repeated birth and death. Like for example, we take a grain, we put it in the soil, and what happens in due course of time, if it is nicely watered, it will sprout. Similarly, if we perform our duties with this mood that we perform without attachment, without any expectation result, it will blossom into knowledge. It will reveal the knowledge, because our heart will become clarified, clear. So why? So how do we get that particular detachment? We perform a duty, but we perform in a detached way. So here Krishna is explaining that how I'm not the only doer who's responsible for action. So I'm sitting here, I'm speaking, my hands are moving, I'm performing action. But how is this happening? So let's look at these 5 factors in the 14th verse. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prathak vidham vividhascha prathak cheshtha daivam chai vatra panchamam. So what Krishna is saying here, he is identifying the 5 factors of accomplishment. So let's look at them one by one. The place of action refers to the body. Yes. So I'm speaking and my body is there, which helps me in performing these actions. Second is the performer. Third are the various senses. So we have these knowledge gathering senses in terms of the eye, in terms of the ear, here right now, and the action senses, like I have these hands, or the tongue, the speech, so that is an action sense. And many different kinds of endeavor. So there are many different kinds of effort that I'm putting in, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of accomplishment. So let's review them. Number 1 is the body. Yes. So to perform an action within the material world, I require a body. So I have one body. So it is one of the doers. Okay, because I am not the body. So one is the body. Second are these senses. So I have the knowledge gathering senses. I have action senses. So these perform the action. Third, the Vedic knowledge explains that how the whole body moves. You know, I'm moving my hand, how the whole body moves. It moves with the help of pranas. The pran, there are different kinds of pran which are moving in the body. With them, I am able to actually act with the body. So our body is like a pneumatic machine. You know, so that's how it moves. So these are the three, factors because of which I'm able to accomplish one action. And beyond these three, which are made up of matter, beyond these three are two more. One is the living entity, the real me, the spirit soul, the jiva. And the fifth one is, of course, the Supreme Lord, and ultimately the Supreme Lord. So these are the 5 factors of accomplishment. So we have a life lesson here, and it's very important for us to reflect on this. Blind are we if we cannot see the other factors of accomplishment of an action. So when usually we are actually ignorant of all these 4 other factors. I only think of myself because I think I'm this body and I'm performing action with this body. I'm ignorant of these senses. I don't really, consider them. I don't consider the pranas, the pran within the body, which are making this body move the way I want. So I ignore that. And I think I'm the body, so I ignore the soul. I ignore the Supreme Lord also. So if I cannot see them, actually I'm blind. Right? So Krishna is giving us, he is opening our eyes to this knowledge. And another beautiful thing, that among these 5 factors, I am only one of them. I am not even one. So when I perform an action, there are 4 other factors. So I'm just 1/5. So let me not become too proud of my achievements, not too depressed for my failures. So I think this is also very interesting because when there is an achievement, I take all the credit. When there is a failure, I feel so depressed or I blame others. So I think none of that is actually required.
So moving ahead here, we are entering into the second section, modes of nature. So every time now you would be wondering that I'm opening my mouth. It is just mode of nature which I'm talking about, because we discussed in chapter 14, we discussed in chapter 17, and again this chapter, it has a big portion, verse number 19 to 40. So my dear devotee, it's not my mistake. Krishna is talking repeatedly about modes of nature. And why? Because this is one very, very practical thing which we can apply in our lives and which we can live accordingly. So actually, I was going through all your comments which you have written for the yesterday's session. And I was so happy to see that many of you have written over there that you have identified the items which you think you can implement or which you think that it is important to implement it. Like majority of you have written about the food choices. So yes, we read yesterday that we are what we eat. So like that, so these modes play such a significant role in our life. So let's see what Krishna is talking about in this chapter about the modes. So here we go ahead. So modes of nature. So here in this chapter, Krishna is talking about the 2 aspects, effects of mode and the conclusion. So what conclusion can be derived from the effects of these modes? So modes entangle us according to our mentality. And here we see that Krishna will talk about these modes in not 1 or 2, but 5 different areas. So Krishna is going to talk about the knowledge, understanding, action, determination, and happiness, and how these modes actually impact us. So as we know, like we have read so much about, let's say, about goodness. So we know that a person who is predominantly in mode of goodness, he has a lot of knowledge. He knows how to discriminate between right and wrong. He performs most of the things as a duty. He follows these scriptures. A person in mode of rajogun or passion, he is living his life basically for sense gratification. And he has such intense greed, unsatiating greed, which is never satisfied. And that is why he is almost always very, very anxious. So this is the characteristic of Rajogun. And then talking about the Tamogun. So Tamogun is full of illusion, and the person is on bodily platform. He's completely lazy to any spiritual things. So when we talk about these things, and everything actually governs our personality, whatever is there in our personality is governed by the modes. So here is a life lesson. It's an invisible web, and I'm completely entangled. And now when I can see, let me work to get set free. So far we were not aware about this web, but because Krishna is repeatedly talking so much about it, so we have identified, you all have identified and realized and written it there that, okay, so which mode is dominating me when I become so angry? How can I control my anger? I have to remind myself, I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not the mode. So like that, we have to get over it. So let's work in a manner to get over it and get set free of the modes. So now, because Krishna is talking about so many factors when he talks about, 5 different factors when he is referring to modes here. So here we will see a little bit about happiness. Happiness is the most important thing in life. Whatever we are doing, ultimately we think that it will give us happiness. Anything, whatever happens, marriage, expanding family, taking up a job or quitting a job, joining Gita Made easy. So everything why we do is because we are doing it for happiness. So now Krishna is explaining that how happiness is divided into goodness, passion and ignorance. And he says that the happiness which is poison at beginning ends like nectar and leads to self-realization is happiness in mode of goodness, which is nectar at first, poison at end, and arise from sense gratification is happiness in mode of passion. And in ignorance, one is completely out of illusion and it arises from sleep, laziness and illusion. So let's try to understand it with a practical example, which we can internalize it more. So now let's talk about staying healthy. Like recently we celebrated this International Yoga Day. So let's say that people got inspired and I want to stay healthy and I want to lose weight and I want to be active. So I decide that, okay, I'll make certain changes in my life. And what I do is, let's say I join a yoga program or some fitness regime and I go to a nutritionist and I get a proper diet chart, a sattvic diet chart, which not only controls my weight, but also calms my mind. So all those changes I start bringing in myself. Now, what happens initially is when I start, let's say my gym or my yoga class is at the morning 6 a.m. Waking up early morning, taking shower, getting ready and coming for the session. Difficult. Don't want to do it. Like mind forces us, okay, aaj nahi kiya chalega. Even if I don't do it today, it's fine. I'll do it tomorrow. Like that. But then, because if we have determination, we would push ourselves and do it. So what is happening is, it is poison at the beginning. Why poison? Because we don't like it. But once a person get accustomed to it and acclimatized with all these practices, then I have heard from so many people that how their body like craves for these exercises and they feel so complete and happy, both physically and mentally, when they are doing these things. So what is happening is poison at the beginning, ends like nectar, and then it was just an example. So this is what is happiness in mode of goodness. Talking about happiness in mode of passion. So let's say I'm scrolling the Facebook. Many of our viewers are there at Facebook. So let's say we are scrolling at Facebook and we find there that, okay, lose 30 kgs in 30 days and take this crash diet and just like do it, right? 30 kgs zyada bol diya. Okay, lose 15 kgs in 30 days. And then we become so excited. Yes, if he can do, then why not me? And we start doing that and practicing that. And initially, like we stop eating altogether. We just take protein shakes and we reduce. Let's say we reduce. So initially when we start reducing and people notice that and say, wow, you are looking so thin. You look so good. What did you do? And I feel so happy. So what is happening? Nectar at first. We are very, very happy. But in the long term, it is very difficult just to live your life on protein shakes. And then it may cause another set of complications. So there may be some other diseases which may arise out of it. So poison at the end. So this is how happiness in mode of passion. Now, talking about happiness in mode of ignorance, actually it is said that it is poison in the beginning and poison at the end. So now people in mode of ignorance, they are not really concerned so much about their health and all, because they just want to enjoy. They are just in that phase of their life. So let's say a person who starts smoking. Now I guarantee that practically nobody would have the first cigarette without coughing. Person get choked up when they inhale, and yet because they think that it will give them a kick, it will give them a high, and then they keep smoking. So what is happening is, it is beginning itself it is a problem, and later on also it's a problem, because the because the lungs may get affected and other organs may get affected. So poison in the beginning and poison at the end. So this is how happiness is classified into goodness, passion, and ignorance. And here is our life lesson. In our search for happiness, let's not forget to check whether it is long-lasting, beneficial, and conducive for spiritual life. Because such type of happiness is actually happiness in mode of goodness. So whatever we want to enjoy, we must have this internal check, whether this is long lasting, whether it is beneficial in the long run, whether this would be beneficial for me, and whether it is conducive for my spiritual life. So here is the verse with which Krishna concludes this section. Natadasti prithviyam va divi deveshu va punaha sattvam prakritir jairmuktam yad ebhe syatribhir gunai. There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary system which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. So this is Krishna's statement. This is his final conclusion about this modes of material nature, where he says it is not only us, but even the devatas, the demigods, are also not free from these modes of material nature. So that is how powerful these shackles are, that they tie us completely to this world. So there is only one way. So yesterday we were discussing, if any of you who's watching here and missed yesterday's episode, I really request you to check it out, because there we were discussing goodness, passion, ignorance, and we were also discussing Shuddha Sattva, which is transcending the modes. How can I actually get out of these clutches of mode? Because otherwise it is even difficult for the demigods to stay beyond the modes of material nature. Okay, so before we continue any further, this section is over, and before I get into the next section, here is an announcement. We are coming up with a weekly online in-depth Bhagavad Gita study course. So because it is our last day today, so we are coming up with another course where we'll be going verse by verse. So this course we are starting on the next Saturday, that is 17th of July. So this till Saturday, Sunday, you can complete all your pending quizzes. In case if you have missed on any session, you can watch that. So all that you can complete. And then next week onwards, we would start this class. This would be weekly class. It is not a daily class. It is weekly. The classes would happen only on Saturdays from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. IST. Also, these classes would happen at Zoom and not YouTube, because we would be having a lot of interactivity in these classes and a lot of exercises and experiential learning. So these classes would happen at Zoom. We would be sending you the details on your WhatsApp or Telegram groups. So you would get that information. In case you are not a part of our WhatsApp group, here is the number given. So kindly send a message to this and get added to our WhatsApp group, contact our team, and so that you are updated about any further courses which we launch. So this was a small announcement, and we begin with the third section. Rather, we continue with the third section. So verse number 41 to 55, and it talks about ideal worker. So how can we work and yet we be detached? So as we saw that in the beginning itself, Arjun was asking question about sannyas and tyag. So we heard the difference between sannyas and tyag. In simple words, shall I do my job or not do my job? So if I decide not doing my job, not taking care of my family, not doing this, everything, no, then I'm taking sannyas. And what is tyag? I am doing my job, I am taking care of my family, I am doing all my responsibilities, but as an offering to Krishna. The results of that I offer to Krishna. So that is tyag. So so Krishna said there that perform your duty. Now, how do I perform my duty? Being an ideal worker. So this is what Krishna covers in this section, and this section is divided into 3 important aspects. First is 4 social order and duties, which we also commonly know as varnashram system. So what is this Devi varnashram or spiritual varnashram? Not the one which we understand now, which is like a degraded form of varnashram because we link it up with the caste system. But when Krishna is talking about, he's talking about the 4 social orders and their duties. Then Krishna is talking about perfection through work. So while working, we perfect. And the third section is attaining the supreme. So how these people located in various social orders, they perform their duties, they perfect their work, and ultimately they attain supreme. So let's see this coming up here. 4 social orders or duties. Now, before we discuss about these orders, like here you can see on the screen that we have famous personalities there. So if you will see the first quadrant there, the first quadrant, very intelligent people, intelligentsia. They are sitting, some committee, maybe some scientists or researchers, and they are doing some brainstorming and reaching at certain conclusion which would be followed. Or like in our understanding, we can say these IAS officers. So they are deciding so many things, so many policies, so many proposals get checked up there. So that is one category. These people are very, very intelligent people basically. The second one, if we see, he is representing, we have put a picture of Barack Obama there. So he is representing the administrative class. So taking care of the administrative duties. The third, we have taken a picture of Mukesh Ambani. So he is representing the entire business class. So in any society to run, we need business people also. So that is the third classification. And the fourth one are the workers in the factory. So wherever we have these setups and we need people to work, right? So if you can see broadly, 4 classification on the basis of social order. One is very intelligent people who come up with the policies and policies, etc., or the research workers, or the scientists, or the NGOs. So one category. Second is the administrative, third is the business, and fourth is the worker class. This, my dear friends, is actually the 4 varnas which Krishna talks about. This is not based on birth. So it is not that if my father is a prime minister, I automatically become a prime minister, or my father is a doctor, I become a doctor, or my father is a Brahman, I become a Brahman. Yeah, the third one, you heard it right. It is not that because my father is a Brahman, I become a Brahman. Do I have those characteristics? So if we read in this chapter, Krishna is describing so much in detail. He mentions 9 qualities of a Brahmana. And there he does not say, not even one quality is birth. So there are 9 qualities which a person has to possess in order to become a Brahmana. When he is talking about Vaishya or the business community, then he is specifically telling that people who are in farming, or they are in cow protection, or they are in Vanijya or business, so they come into this business class. Administrative class, so in our current scenario, we can understand like the politicians. So they come there, and then everybody else is a worker. So this is the social order which is applicable in any society of the world. It is not only for India. That is why Bhagavad Gita is not only for India. Bhagavad Gita is not only for Hindus. Bhagavad Gita, the message of Bhagavad Gita, it is a universal phenomena. It can be seen anywhere across. And even in a spiritual society like ISKCON, we can see that. I'll give you an example. In ISKCON, like many of the devotees, they are doctors, right? So they are practicing medicine and they are full-fledged doctors, very, very well educated. So now they have that inclination, they have that guna, they have that quality in them. How do they utilize that quality? So we have hospitals. So ISKCON, though it is a spiritual organization, but we also have hospitals. So that is not the main focus of our society, but then because people are there who are chanting 16 rounds, who are reading Srila Prabhupada books, who are following all the 4 regulative principles, who are practicing spirituality in completeness, and yet they have to survive, so they have to make some earning also. So what they do is they practice in these hospitals. So ISKCON have these hospitals. We have in Mayapur, we have in Mumbai and different places. Similarly, ISKCON has many schools. So those people who have this inclination to teach, so they are appointed as the teachers in these schools. And then those who are good at administration, those who have done MBA, so they actually run these schools. So they take care of the management. So different aspects, even among the devotee community, we can find. There are some people who are wonderfully practicing Krishna consciousness, but they are not very educated, and they are very simple people, and they know very simple things. So yes, so we have, for example, we have our temple, and we need people to clean the temple also, to maintain. So we have people working in hospitality, yeah. So housekeeping department is there, maintenance department is there. We require plumber, we require engineer, we require electrician. So everything. So people of all these social orders can actually utilize their talent for the service of the Supreme Lord. So can we go to the next slide? So here is a life lesson, how to get job satisfaction. And Bhagavad Gita is answering that as well. Pick up the occupation in line with scriptures, which is suitable for one's own nature, that one has acquired as a result of the modes one associates with. So I need to check what are my qualities, what is my nature, what am I good at, and is it sanctioned by the scripture. I pick up that particular thing and I work there and I offer the results to Krishna. Complete job satisfaction. So perfection through work. So Krishna is telling in these 2 verses how by working one can still attain perfection. So verse number 46, it says, by worship of the Lord, who's a source of all beings and who's all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. So each one of us have different capabilities. Like for example, Krishna has blessed us with this little capability of teaching. So we are trying to engage this in these societies' service and in service of Krishna. Now, we have here sitting next to me my technical head. So now he is expert in these technical aspects of the telecasting of this, which I do not know. So he is expert in his work and I am sort of like whatever, I won't call expert, but then whatever I am doing, so I have a set of nature which I have acquired, I'm utilizing in Krishna's service. A person who has designed all these beautiful slides, what you see, so she is utilizing her talent in Krishna's service. You call our back office team and sometimes you have some query, etc., and they help you out. So they are utilizing their guna and karma again in Krishna's service. So this is how everybody can attain perfection just by performing his own work. And Krishna further says, it is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. So whatever I am blessed with, whatever I am good at, whatever is assigned to me, I should be doing that thing only. So it should not happen that tomorrow suddenly I jump and I say, okay, enough of taking classes. Now I want to do the telecasting. Arey, what I'll sit there and do? I'll goof up everything. So what Krishna is saying is, even if you are not able to perform your thing perfectly, but still it is better to perform your own occupational duty. So that is what we should aspire for. So, and working in this manner, we actually attain perfection. So Krishna is saying here, we are all born original. I'm sorry, Krishna is not saying, we are saying that, implying from this verse that we are all born original and unique. Don't try to become anyone's copy. Original is beautiful. So we all have unique talents with us. We all have unique personalities and we can utilize that in Krishna's service. We just have to find out how. So Krishna says here, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am as a Supreme Personality of Godhead only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So what is happening is, I am doing my duties. I am becoming an ideal worker. So whatever Krishna has allocated me as my quota of responsibilities, I am taking care of all those things, but simultaneously as an offering to Krishna. And that is why Krishna uses here the word devotional service. Bhaktiya mam abhijanati. So to know Krishna, the only process to understand Krishna, one and only process is devotional service. So when a person is performing his duties, keeping Krishna in the mind, always thinking of Krishna, becoming a wonderful devotee, and then he understands Krishna. So that we would be covering up in the next section. And before we go there, here is a life lesson. Bhakti Yoga or devotional service is the key to the astonishing place which is eternal, peaceful, and blissful. So moving forward in the next section,
love of God. This is a very sweet section, a very, very important section, and Krishna will be concluding here his most important vachan, paramam vachan, the most sacred of all instructions that Krishna is going to give in these 56 to 66 verse. So we will see that the whole objective of a life is to develop love for God. That is actually the goal of human life. So there Krishna will speak something about a ray of hope and how do we actually surrender to Krishna. So Krishna specifically gives this instruction that you should surrender to me. So in this chapter, in the whole Bhagavad Gita, we see that Krishna has actually spoken about different things, but here in 18th chapter and specifically in this section, Krishna is actually concluding that how becoming Krishna's devotee is the best, is the highest among all the different processes that Krishna has revealed. So this verse, 57th verse, the ray of hope. Chetsa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya matchitta satatam bhava. So what is Lord saying? He is saying that in all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So very beautifully Krishna is saying that we should act under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Just like if there is a faithful servant, so that faithful servant is always serving his master and he's not trying to do anything independently. So that is what we need to understand. That Krishna is saying, whatever activities we do, just depend on him, just depend on the Supreme Lord, and that is how we can always work under Lord's protection. So here we see this painting is very interesting. We see that there are devotees, they are engaged in different activities. Somebody is cleaning the floor, somebody is helping in the kitchen, somebody is performing arati to the Lord, somebody is washing utensils, somebody is honoring prasadam. But you see what is happening behind the action. What is going on in the mind? What is going in the mind? That the devotee is always thinking of Krishna. So here we see that all these activities are devotional activities, but similarly we should also try in performing other activities. So if I have a job, I need to understand that this particular, like we saw the 5 factors of accomplishment. If I'm able to do well in my job, or whatever I'm doing, so how these are 5 factors which are involved. I very clearly see the role of the soul, the role of the super soul. So that's how if you read Bhagavad Gita repeatedly, probably for some of you this may be the first exposure to Bhagavad Gita. So there is infinite knowledge which is contained within these 700 verses. So we need to repeatedly read. We need to again and again understand. And Bhagavad Gita is not like a newspaper where yesterday's newspaper has no value today. Bhagavad Gita is been around for 5,000 years. There are sages and great personalities who have read this book again and again, and they've continuously received newer and newer inspiration. So Krishna is saying in all activities, just depend on me. So the more we read Bhagavad Gita, the more we chant Hare Krishna, the more we can remember him in all our activities. And that is how we can always work under Krishna's protection. So Krishna is saying, in this such devotional service, you always be conscious of me. Mat chitta satatam bhava. Always be conscious of me. So what is the Lord saying is, follow the Supreme Lord. We always depend on the Supreme Lord. We always should depend on Krishna. Krishna is saying, depend on me. So we need to understand, see, Bhagavad Gita and understanding the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, following Krishna's instructions is a voluntary act. Krishna is not forcing. He did not force Arjun also. Now, can we imagine the whole war is about to begin? So much has happened before this war. Everybody is now ready. Arjun is ready. The Rath is in the middle of that battlefield. And now Arjun is saying, I will not fight. And even despite that, Krishna is only giving him wisdom. Bhagavad Gita is a book of wisdom. And then Krishna is leaving that decision to Arjun. So Bhakti Yoga or devotion to Krishna is voluntary. So if we voluntarily act according to Lord's instruction, then what is the result that Krishna is saying? That we'll depend on the Lord, we'll follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita, and of course this has to be done under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, because when we read Bhagavad Gita, we may have some doubts, some questions. We may have questions regarding how to apply this in my own life, so that has to be done under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master. We saw in the 4th chapter, Krishna says there are bona fide Guru Shishya Paramparas. We need to take guidance from them. And when we perform such acts, we should remember Krishna. So all these things are done voluntarily. Love is a volunteering act. It is done out of our own free will. Love cannot be forced. So that is, if we follow Krishna's instruction, we naturally develop love for the Supreme Lord. So what is the result that we'll obtain? Personal protection. Krishna is promising here, he will personally protect us. We will pass over all obstacles. Whether it is an obstacle in my personal life, in my professional life, or it is in my spiritual life, all the obstacles will be crossed. We can see Krishna's hand everywhere. Like a parent who's always concerned about all-round development of his child. Right? So everywhere the parent helps the child. So that's how Krishna helps us pass over all the obstacles. And at the end, like we see in this beautiful picture, the Lord is riding Garuda, and he is personally come to pick up this devotee. So Lord will personally take us to his supreme abode. So let us be very attentive and alert to this hope-giving call from the Lord of our life. He is calling, he is eating, and he is assuring. So let's respond. So I think there is an error there. So Lord is calling and Lord is inspiring us. He is giving us his promise. So let us respond to that and follow his instructions. And interestingly, Krishna also talks about that if you do not follow, because there may be many of us who may read, who may understand, but we decide not to follow the instructions of the Lord. Right? So what will happen? Krishna says, if one does not follow, then and we act out of pride and false ego, then the person will perish. So here we see this person, you see that picture at the bottom, there is a person who is floating on a piece of ice. What do you think? How long can he float? How long that piece of ice will actually sustain him? So that's how we may have attained a human form, which is considered to be the form among all these species, where we can actually cut and break this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Right? So, but that can happen only if we take up Lord's instruction. Otherwise, we will be lost. So, Krishna is explaining everything, but leaving the choice to us. So, that is the beauty of the Supreme Lord's instruction. So, I'm not this dream, I'm a spiritual fact. So, I have a different business. This is quote from Srila Prabhupada. We need to understand that how like we dream in the night, next morning, how many dreams do we remember? Maybe one or two, maybe some nightmare was there, we remember that, or some beautiful dream. But how many dreams do we remember? Some of us dream every day, right? So this dream will come and this dream will go. So our life is also like a dream. How many of us remember our past life? What was our name? Which body were we in? Who are all my friends and relatives? What was I doing in my previous life? I do not remember anything. And what about the life before that? And what about the life before that? And like that, I have taken millions and billions of lives. I have gone through that cycle. So I'm not this dream. I'm a spiritual fact. So I have a different business. I'm not this body, right? So I have a different objective and goal of life. So Krishna begins to reveal this most potent knowledge in 65, and then Paramam, the most important instruction Krishna gives in the next verse. We look at these two verses. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mai vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyavasi me. So Krishna is giving most confidential of all instructions. So open your ears and listen carefully. What is Krishna saying? Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Man mana. Krishna is saying, think of me. This is the perfection of life. Man mana. To think of Krishna, to concentrate on that beautiful form of the Lord, the three-bent form. His bodily hue, the color is like the fresh monsoon, dark monsoon cloud. And he has those beautiful lotus-like eyes and that peacock feather and such attractive, supremely attractive beauty. Krishna is saying, think of me, man mana. Then he says, bhava mad bhakto. He's saying, become my devotee. Here Krishna is not saying that you become a karma yogi, you become a Gyaan yogi, you become a Ashtang yogi. No, Krishna is saying, bhava mad bhakto, you become my devotee. So if we are keeping our eyes open, we can see that Krishna is instructing us that forget everything, become my devotee, render devotional service to me, try to develop love for me. So mat bhakto madhyaji, worship me. So there are various ways that we can worship the Lord. We have a formal way of worship that we offer the incense, we offer the lamb, we can offer bhoga to the Lord. So many ways we can worship the Lord. We will see that in ISKCON temples, you will see that we offer the chamara or the peacock fan. That's how offer that wonderful worship to me. And Mam Namaskuru, offer your homage unto me. Namaskuru, you would have seen that how the devotees, out of their love and affection, they prostrate completely in front of the Lord. Completely, they will fall flat on the ground, right? No false ego, no prestige in front of the Lord. Lord is my master. I am his humble servant. I am servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So with that mood, Mam Namaskuru, offer the homage unto me. Mam Eveshyasi Satyam Te. And Krishna is saying, I'm telling you this, and because this is my promise, it is true. This is my promise. Because after this, you will become very, very dear to me. So I promise you this because you are my dear friend. So Krishna is telling to Arjun, and if we follow this particular instruction of the Lord in this particular verse, we also become as dear to the Lord as the great devotee Arjun. So finally, we come to this beautiful, beautiful verse. And of course, we have an amazing picture to depict this particular pastime also of Draupadi's. When Dushasan was trying to disrobe Draupadi, ultimately Draupadi did only one thing. She completely depended on the Lord. She raised her hand. She knew that she cannot defend herself. There was nobody else who could save her. It was only the Supreme Lord. So that is what Krishna is explaining here. 66 verse. So we understand that Krishna is saying Man Bhava in the previous verse that we should become his devotee. We should think of him. But if we look into our heart, we see that there are so many material desires, and I may not be so much keen in becoming a devotee, and I have so many sinful things that I have done in my life. How can I become Krishna's devotee? Well, Krishna is saying this in the 66 verse. Sarv dharman paritajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaishyami ma shuchaha. So Krishna is saying Sarv dharman parityajya. There are many different varieties of religion. you abandon them. You abandon them. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. You take shelter of me alone. Not that you take shelter of me and of X and of Y and of Z and of Tom, Dick and Harry. No, Mam ekam sharanam vraja. You take my shelter alone. Mam ekam. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, whatever sinful activities that you might have performed, I will deliver you from them. I will destroy those sinful reactions. Do not fear. Ma shuchaha. So some of you who would have visited Kanchipuram Vardara Swami temple, and those of you who have not, really it's an amazing temple. You should visit on your visit to Kanchipuram. So when we climb the steps and we are going into the sanctum where the deity is situated, and when you climb those stairs, and suddenly you will see that beautiful form of the Lord. He has the most charming smile and his right hand is raised, and what is written on his right hand? It is written Ma Shucha. Do not fear. You are my devotee. You have nothing to fear. And that is what Krishna is saying. Surrender to me alone. So if we surrender unto Krishna, only to Krishna, Krishna is very, very clear. Because otherwise there is no surrender. I surrender to you. I surrender to you. I surrender to you also. But that is not surrender. Surrender means to one person, to the Supreme Personality. Second, what will we achieve? We'll achieve transcendental peace, supreme eternal abode, and freedom from sinful reactions completely. So Krishna will always protect. Bhakti Yoga, that is why is the greatest. Minimum efforts, maximum results. In Kali Yuga, the only process for spiritual perfection and advancement and perfection, yes, is Hare Nam Eva Kevalam, chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What can be easier than this? We don't really have to leave our homes and jobs and family, no, nothing. We can just be situated wherever we are and we can chant the holy names of the Lord. So minimum effort, maximum results, perfection of life is attained. And with that, we come to the last section of 67 to 78th verse.
So talking about results. So here is the section, end results. So let's see what Krishna talks here. So in end result, we will see who can receive this result. One who distributes this knowledge, one who studies this knowledge, one who listens with faith, like all of you, listening with faith, the supreme auspiciousness. That brings, this is the end result which they would acquire, the supreme auspiciousness. So who can receive? Krishna has specified in various places before, also in chapter number 7, in chapter number 9. He keeps repeating that. So who is the one who is qualified to receive this knowledge? One, a devotee who is a devotee of Krishna. Second, that person should be non-envious. So we cannot acquire this knowledge. The knowledge will not transform my heart if I am envious of Krishna. So non-envious. Third, friend of Krishna. So always taking shelter of Krishna. And fourth, the person should have some degree of self-control. So we were talking about the 4 regulative principles. So that regulative principle is actually to control ourselves and to bring us to human platform. Because otherwise we become animalistic. So these are the 4 qualifications which Krishna gives, that one who can distribute this knowledge and one who distributes this knowledge about him. Krishna is speaking this verse. Ya idam paramam guhyam madbhakteshu abhidhasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mame vashyati asamshayaha. Asamshayaha, there is no sanshaya. Krishna's guarantee. Now, what is that guarantee? For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. So now, there is a little secret which I would like to reveal here. So all the courses, when you go to our website, StudyGita.com, you would find all the courses, nice courses, brilliant courses, very well structured, very presentable, everything for free. Now in this world, we generally don't get things for free. If it is free, then there is some asterisk and conditions apply. Today is 18th day. Till now, we have not charged any fees, and you will get the certificate also, and we don't charge anything. It is actually absolutely free. Why are we giving this knowledge for free? Because of this verse. So Krishna is telling, one who explains this supreme secret to the devotee. So that is what Prabhu and I were trying to do, explaining the secret to all of you. Pure devotional service is guaranteed. So that is our reward which we are actually looking for, that we get this benediction of serving Krishna always eternally. Pure devotional service which is not mixed, not contaminated with karma yoga, Gyaan yoga, Dhyan yoga, Ashtanga yoga, no contamination. Pure one and only bhakti yoga. So that is what Krishna is guaranteeing. So here is our life lesson. Now that's the real secret. Inspire people to read Bhagavad Gita. While others get the most wonderful knowledge, you become dearer to the Supreme Lord. So as we can see here in the picture, actually in ISKCON, there is a lot of emphasis, one, on conducting classes on Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and two, distributing books. So if you will visit our website, there you will find a column Shastradan also. So Shastradan means you are donating for the book distribution. So what is happening is, when we inspire people to read Bhagavad Gita, so I may not be qualified to completely explain the message of Bhagavad Gita, but if I am inspiring them, you must read Bhagavad Gita. I found that this is a life transforming book and it will help you and you must read. So if I am doing that way, then that way also I become dearer to the Supreme Lord. When I am distributing these copies of Bhagavad Gita, because I don't know what to talk, but Bhagavad Gita, everything is written. Srila Prabhupada has written everything what others need to know. Krishna has spoken everything. So if we are distributing that, we become dearer to Krishna. So verse number 70, it says, one who studies Bhagavad Gita, he is actually worshipping Krishna by his intelligence. So we may have seen in the temples when we go, then the elaborate worship happens where we offer chamar and dhoop and deep and other paraphernalia, flowers. We are actually worshipping. So when we are studying, all of you are studying, and to present this course, we also had to study a lot. So all this study is actually worshipping Krishna by our own intelligence. And verse number 71, Krishna says, one who listens with faith. So just by clicking on the link and coming to the YouTube or Facebook and just listening. So what happens to such people? Krishna says, they are free from sinful reactions and they attain auspicious planets. So that is what he guarantees. And then this chapter of Bhagavad Gita and the entire Bhagavad Gita, it ends with this supreme auspicious benediction. So if we want a simple success formula, here it is concluded that what is the success formula? What would assure that in all our endeavors we would always be successful? So let us all recite this verse together. Yatra Yogeshwarah Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishno, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, Yogeshwar, Krishna is master of all mystics. Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, and wherever there is Arjun, the supreme archer, he is the Dhanurdhara. What happens at that place? Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. The benediction is, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power and morality. So that is the conclusion. So if we invite Krishna, if we invite Arjuna in our lives, if we start living Bhagavad Gita, then everything becomes auspicious. Everything, a person is opulent, he is victorious, he attains extraordinary power, and the morality resides. And how do we do this? How do we invite supreme auspiciousness? So as we already told, okay, we will come to the next slide. So how do we invite that auspiciousness? So for that, we are coming up with this weekly online in-depth Bhagavad Gita study program. Starting on 17 July, contact us for more details. So all we have to do is be in company of Krishna and Arjun through their sacred conversation. So this Gita Made Easy was an attempt to bring this sacred conversation to our life on a day-to-day basis, as how I can actually live Bhagavad Gita. So with this, we have successfully completed Bhagavad Gita. This was the last life lesson of Gita Made Easy session. And next, we will see you for the next session, which is starting on 18th. So let's have a quick recap of this chapter, what all we have already studied. So this was chapter 18. It started with the first section, summary of Karma Yoga and Gyaan Yoga, where Arjun expresses his doubt, what is better, sannyas or tyag. Krishna tells, perform your duty. And then he says that there are actually five factors responsible for an action. The second section was about the modes of nature, effects of mode, and how it impacts knowledge, understanding, action, determination, and happiness. The third section was about ideal worker, so attaining the supreme, performing bhakti yoga, and perfection through work. And yes, we discussed the social order and their duties. The fourth section was about love of Godhead, where we read some very, very important, rather the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita. We heard about Man Manabhav Mad Bhakto. We heard about Sarva Dharman Parityagya. So Krishna gave a ray of hope. Krishna said, surrender to Krishna only. And then the last section, the end result. So we discussed who can receive this knowledge, one who distributes the knowledge, what happens to him, one who studies what happens, and one who listens with faith, like all of you, the supreme destination, and how to attain that supreme auspiciousness. So that we heard by studying, by making Krishna and Arjuna's conversation a part of our life. So with this, we are very, very happy that we have reached the end, and we request you all to share your realizations and feedbacks in the comment section here now. We would be very, very happy to hear that. And any questions, again, you can leave in the feedback section the question. So a big congratulations to all of us for successfully completing 18 days, 18 chapter course on Gita Made Easy. So taking your leave, signing off, Sukirti Madhavi.
Amrin Gaur Das.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama R Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.